The first time she slid the fake diamond ring onto her finger, her hands were shaking, not because of the size of the stone, but because of what it represented. She was sitting alone in her car, parked outside a quiet cafe, staring at her reflection in the rearview mirror, asking herself a question that had haunted her for years. If a man thought she was already taken, would he still treat her with respect? Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and how old are you? And let me ask you something honestly. If love came with no financial advantage at all, would the person you're with still choose you? Her name was Harper Whitlock, and on paper she had everything. At 62, she was worth hundreds of millions, built from a logistics company she started when most people told her she was too old, too late, and too naive to compete. She lived in a gated estate, traveled first class without thinking twice, and could buy almost anything she wanted. Almost. What she couldn't buy was certainty. Every relationship she had after 50 carried the same quiet question in the background. Does he like me? Or does he like the life I can offer him? So Harper did something that shocked even her closest advisor. She took off her expensive watch, stopped driving her luxury car, and told no one who she really was. And then she added one more twist. She wore a fake engagement ring. Not to pretend she was married, but to see how men behaved when they believed there was nothing to gain. No chase, no prize, no opportunity. Just her as she was, apparently already chosen by someone else. That's how she met Eugene Calloway. 68 years old, retired civil engineer, widowed for nearly a decade. He lived in a modest townhouse and spent his mornings walking to the same cafe, ordering black coffee and reading paperback history books. No flashy clothes, no loud opinions, just calm. The kind of calm that comes from a man who's already lost something precious and learned how to keep breathing anyway. The first time they spoke, it was accidental. She dropped her keys. He picked them up. He noticed the ring immediately. Not with disappointment, not with interest, just a polite glance and a respectful step back. "Looks like someone's waiting for you," he said with a small smile, handing the keys over. No flirting, no probing questions. And for some reason, that stayed with her all day. They kept running into each other. Same cafe, same time. Short conversations turned into longer ones. He never asked about the ring. Never tested boundaries, never hinted. And that's what unsettled her. Men who wanted something always tested. Eugene didn't. He talked about his late wife with honesty, not drama. He listened more than he spoke, and when Harper mentioned she worked a little in consulting, he nodded without curiosity or judgment. If you were watching this happen, you might think it was simple. Two older people enjoying company. But inside Harper, something else was happening. She was waiting for the moment. The slip, the question about money, the subtle shift in tone when comfort turned into expectation. Days turned into weeks. Coffee became walks. Walks became dinners at modest restaurants where Eugene always insisted on splitting the bill, even when she reached for her purse. One evening, as they sat on a park bench watching the sun disappear behind the trees, Eugene looked at her ring again. This time longer. Her chest tightened. This was it, she thought. This is where it changes. But instead, he sighed softly and said, "Whoever gave you that, he's lucky. I hope he knows that." No envy, no bitterness, just sincerity. And that sentence hit her harder than any compliment ever had. That night, Harper cried alone in her kitchen, not because she was sad, but because she was afraid. Afraid that for the first time in years, she was falling for someone who wanted nothing from her. And worse, someone she was lying to. The fake ring that was supposed to protect her pride was now testing his. A week later, something happened that forced everything forward. They ran into a former colleague of Harper's by pure chance, a man who knew exactly who she was. His eyes widened when he saw her. His mouth opened to say her full name, her accomplishments, her net worth. Harper felt the blood drain from her face. Eugene turned toward her, confused, sensing something was wrong. And in that frozen second, Harper realized the test was about to end, whether she was ready or not. Eugene looked from the man's surprised face back to Harper, his expression calm but searching, like someone standing at the edge of a truth he didn't ask for but could already feel. The colleague stumbled over his words, laughed awkwardly, and said something about mistaken identity before walking away too fast. The silence that followed felt louder than any confession. Harper's heart was pounding so hard she was sure Eugene could hear it. She opened her mouth to explain, then closed it again, realizing that half-truths wouldn't survive this moment. They walked without speaking for several minutes. Every step felt heavy. Finally, Eugene stopped near the edge of the sidewalk and asked quietly, "Do you want to tell me what that was about?" There was no anger in his voice, just a steady curiosity mixed with caution. Harper stared at the fake ring, twisting it slowly, and felt years of guarded habits press against her chest. She thought about how easy it would be to deflect, to minimize, to keep the test going a little longer. But something in his eyes told her that doing so would cost her everything that mattered. She took a breath and told him the truth. Not the polished version, not the billionaire headline. She told him she was wealthy beyond what she needed, that she had been used before, that she wore the ring to disappear, to see how men behaved when there was nothing to gain. She admitted that the ring was fake, and that the test was never about control, but fear. As the words spilled out, her voice shook. She braced herself for disappointment, for wounded pride, for resentment. Eugene didn't interrupt. He didn't pace or cross his arms. He just listened. When she finished, he exhaled slowly and looked at the ground for a long moment. "So," he said gently, "this whole time, you were seeing who I was, while I thought I already knew who you were." It wasn't an accusation. It was an observation. That somehow hurt more. Harper apologized, not once, but over and over, explaining that the ring was never meant to mock him or test his worth. It was meant to protect her heart. Eugene nodded, then surprised her by smiling faintly. "I understand fear," he said. "I've lived with it since my wife passed, but I also believe pride can hide in strange places, even in good intentions." They sat on a nearby bench, the air thick with unresolved emotion. Eugene admitted that he'd been careful with her because of the ring, yes, but also because he respected boundaries. He said he never felt less because she seemed unavailable. What stung him wasn't the wealth. It was the idea that she thought he might change if he knew. "I liked you when I thought you had nothing to offer me," he said quietly. "That should tell you something about who I am." If you were in Harper's place, would you feel relief or shame right then? Maybe both. She felt exposed, but she also felt seen. For the first time, she wasn't the billionaire or the test maker. She was just a woman who wanted love without conditions. The next few days were uncertain. They didn't meet. They didn't text. Harper questioned every decision she'd made. The ring sat on her dresser, like a symbol of both safety and sabotage. She finally realized that testing someone's pride was really about testing her own ability to trust. On the fourth day, she removed the ring and placed it in a drawer, unsure if she'd ever wear it again. When Eugene finally called, his voice was steady but cautious. He asked if she wanted to talk, not to restart things, just to talk. They met at the same cafe where it all began. Harper arrived early, nervous in a way money had never made her before. When Eugene walked in, he noticed her bare hand immediately. No comment, just a small nod as if acknowledging a choice. They spoke honestly that afternoon. About age, about independence, about how money can distort power without anyone intending it to. Eugene made it clear he didn't want to be rescued, upgraded, or impressed. Harper made it clear she didn't want to hide anymore. Somewhere between the coffee cooling and the sun shifting through the window, they agreed on something simple and rare. No tests, no disguises, just truth, even when it was uncomfortable. Months later, Harper attended a quiet dinner at Eugene's home. No staff, no pretense, just two people cooking together, laughing over burned bread, sharing stories without measuring their worth. When Eugene finally reached for her hand, there was no ring, fake or real, between them. Just skin and intention. And that felt like more commitment than any diamond ever could. So let me ask you something before you go. If you've ever hidden a part of yourself to feel safer in love, what did it cost you? And what might you gain if you stopped testing and started trusting? If this story made you think or feel something real, take a second to like the video, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe for more stories that dig into love, age, and truth. And tell me in the comments, was Harper wrong to test his pride, or was it the only way she could learn to trust?